bet it's a bullet gonna get the last laugh.
EVO Vegas 2025 is 2 weeks away, and it is going to be the biggest tournament of the year. Not only in terms of players, competitors, and just good old fashioned matches, but also in terms of reveals. You know, there's a lot of games that was announced this year. You talk about Virtual Fighter news, Marvel Token, 2XKO, Invincible Versus. There's a lot of fighting games that has been revealing a decent amount of information, and I expect major reveals. We always talk about how one of the main reasons Tekken 8 probably can't see the success that Tekken 7 did is because of the amount of competition. It only competed with Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, and Guilty Gear later on. Smash too, but that's kind of in its own genre of Nintendo. Also, its competitors were a little bit lackluster. Street Fighter V is nothing at all compared to Street Fighter 6. Tekken 8 got true competition this time around. That combined with their rocky start and also year one entering year two and a half of controversy, it's crazy. You already have a lot of people talking about why is the numbers for Tekken 8 lower? Even Nee himself was wondering this question. But even then, there was a point in the conversation that was being made by Arsenal and Ash where he says on Twitter, EVO used to feel like one of the legendary events where the whole world came to compete. Now with 3 EVOs next year, 4, it's slowly losing that prestige. I miss the days where there was only one EVO, one champion, and one moment that defined the year. This is where I agree, but also disagree with Arsenal and Ash because yes, I remember the days where EVO was like the Olympics of fighting games, but now we're kind of getting to this point where there's multiple EVOs all over the place. There's an EVO France in like 3 more months, and you do have the watering down, the diluting of what made EVO so special, but at the same time, this gives not only the game developers more opportunities to, do their announcements, do their reveals, instead of trying to focus it all into the month of August. And then as a result, it creates a drought of information, of news. I mean, if you think about the E3 days, the whole year was dead because every game developer was saving their one reveal, their one trailer for E3. Now that we have summer games, Game Awards, PlayStation events, Xbox events, the reveals and the hype is spread evenly throughout, and there's always something happening. And that's kind of what EVO is trying to tap into, but also there's a lot of money to be made. Their tickets is 400, 200. They're making a lot of money there. If they can do that 4 times a year, get competitors to travel all year around spending that much money, it's a lucrative business, and I understand why EVO is making the changes that they are. What's so important about the character Armor King? One, he is one of the most iconic and popular characters in all of Tekken, and with his introduction into Tekken 8, this will be the boost in momentum that they need. You talk about how all of the updates throughout season 2 has been small steps in the right direction, a tiptoe in the right direction. Armor King will be months after the release of season 2. So there should be a lot of meaningful changes there, but also the character himself should represent the best that this game has to offer. What I mean by that is before Fahkumram release, we were all dooming the character. We were looking at Anna and we were going to say he's going to do the same thing but worse. But the developers showed us that Fahkumram, one of the most diabolical characters, can be somewhat legit. Now this gives me a lot of hope for Armor King because before then, I was expecting him to be doing, flame burn mix-ups and stances and his whole identity to be ruined. But seeing what Fahkumram is, Armor King has the potential to be himself. This EVO that's happening in 2 weeks is a massive opportunity for Tekken 8 to show the world that they're back. They have a legendary character. They also have the new character that we don't know much about. I wonder if they will sprinkle some information in there for them or if they will just focus on Armor King entirely. But they have Armor King, they have New Balance, but also something else that I want to keep in mind as well, and this is just my own speculation, but something seems off about season 2. Season 1, when you look at the roadmap, there is a lot of good stuff here. We had the big battle balance that came in spring. We had a free new stage. We had a massive game mode, which is photo mode. How many of you guys use photo mode to this day? That game mode, fire. And then also you have online practice, Ghost versus Ghost, and a new story chapter. Season 1 roadmap was fire. But then when you look at season 2, it's crazy because the drop off in content is insane. Yes, you have Tekken Ghost Showdown that is building upon the Ghost v Ghost, but when you look at everything else here, it's just skins and cosmetics. You have skin, 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 and then you have the pack match stage, which is a part of the actual battle pass, and then you have the fight pass. When you compare season 2 to season 1, the roadmaps are completely different. But the reason why I bring this up is because when you look at the season 2 roadmap, this roadmap only extends to summer. If you look at the season 1 roadmap, it extended all the way into autumn and into the future. The fact that the autumn content starts in like October, and the October content it's usually announced at EVO, this is just my own speculation, but the fact that we already know who the October autumn character is, that's Armor King, it makes me believe that the developers have some other huge surprise up their sleeve, because that's what EVO's all about. Surprises, reveals, and the character's already there, but we don't know what content. I could be wrong, but this is just me hoping that there's something more there, because I know Tekken 8 needs that massive boost in momentum to carry it and put it back on track. I mean, only time will tell. The developers are obviously working hard. They're obviously trying to fix the game. The game obviously didn't need to be in this position. It could have been so much better, but you work with what you can get. If I was to speculate on what that content would be, we have a couple of options. I know a lot of people was pushing for more story, but you do got to keep in mind with season 1, the developer said that for the story mode, the DLC characters will play a central role in it, and the story would basically explain their inclusion in the game. And if they were going to do that this time around, then the star characters will be Armor King, Falconram, Anna, and a little bit of the final character, which I do think the final character should have some explanation. It would be weird to get a final character and not that story element to be really emphasized. People love when the Tekken developers expand on the world of Tekken and show us how many different moving pieces there are, and not just retell the same Mishima story over and over again. So they could do something like that. But also, if you talk about how people always request a game mode. Now, there's many different kind of game modes that people are looking forward to, like a Tekken Force, a team battle, and maybe some other ideas that people are looking forward to. I do remember there was one time when Harada was talking about how he wanted to add a team mode, not necessarily team battle, but like a team mode, like a 3-player versus 3-player. There was a lot of ideas that was being thrown around by the developers at the start of Tekken 8. I don't know if you guys remember that Tekken Talk that happened very early on, but now that we are basically 2 years away from that moment, whichever option they decided to go with could be in the later stages of development and at a point to where they want to announce it. Now, once again, this is purely my own speculation, but seeing how we already know Armor King is coming, it seems like there should be some other reveal happening at EVO as well. I mean, if you think about last year, we knew story mode was happening, but also along story mode, Heihachi was the surprise. So now we know the character, so what will be the surprise along with the character? Maybe nothing, and it will only be Armor King, maybe a hint at the new character, but in my opinion, I think that would be really underwhelming in terms of content that Tekken 8 is offering. And also, I think it would be a huge missed opportunity for them to really show the world that Tekken 8 is moving back in the right direction. And I think that EVO, that is what this game needs to be about. That is what the announcements need to be about.